What is going on, everybody? Boyle here, back with a brand new episode of Higurashi When They Cry. Last time on, Shion decided to stay at the Sonozaki house after a night of partying, and in the middle of the night, she woke up to the sound of Oryu and Mion having a conversation. She overheard them, and a phone rang, and basically, she took out Mion and killed Oryu. And now Shion is going to go on a murderous rampage we saw in Chapter 2. And it's absolutely not going to go long at all. She's not going to regret it at all, not one bit. So, yeah, let's get right into it. See new tips. 2. I wasn't planning to kill the hag so quickly. I was going to kill her anyway, but it was too soon. People would normally assume that the Sonozaki family operates as a hierarchy, but that's not true. It's actually more like a system of government. Several ministries stem from the main family, and each forms a hierarchy of its own. These ministries don't communicate with one another. The people who belong to a given ministry don't know what other ministries are doing. That way, the Sonozaki's family's dealings are kept perfectly secret. Of course, the most important people in the family govern several ministries. They know, of course, about their own ministries, and they know a little bit about the ministries their relatives run. But none of them know everything. There are ministries that work in the open, there are ministries that work unseen, and there are some smaller ones that Oryu runs herself. Mion seems to know about most of them, but she doesn't necessarily know them all. In fact, she didn't know about the curse. Considering that, the fact that the hag died before I could interrogate her is a huge loss. Yeah, it's still very unfortunate the woman that's one of the most likely suspects behind the whole thing is dead, so it's a big dent. The head of the Kimiyoshi family was the one who called the main house most often after the 5th year's curse. My father called the second most. My parents were still high in the hierarchy, but the stir caused by my mother's disownment still hung over us, so we got treated as outcasts. So the fact that my father received so many calls proved how much the hag valued us despite the distance at which we were kept, demonstrating her own two-faced respect for both sides of the coin. My father seems to be in charge of the intelligence bureau. He reported police information, gossip, and rumors going around in the Yakuza business to the hag. He silences, stirs, and distorts that information at her request. By the way, my servant Kasai is an old friend of my father's. That must be why Kasai knows many things. But I don't know. If my father is involved in the curse's execution, my assumption is that although he got the information on the police investigation about the case, he wasn't involved in the execution itself. The fact that my father and the hag have this close connection isn't widely known. People know that she uses his information at work, but they don't look very far beyond that. In the same way, it's possible that a curse execution team exists under the hag's direct control. People just aren't aware of it. Yeah, the question is, it wasn't Oryu herself. She never liked to do the work herself. It's probably someone other. If it's the Sonozaki family behind the curse, it's obviously some sub division of one of them, and whoever is behind that is they're not the ones pulling the trigger, but like they're the bullet, pretty much. So let us continue on our murderous rampage. I was having such a happy dream. Satoshi-kun wasn't in the dream. He was leading his normal everyday life. He was back on the baseball team. Yurei and I acted normally around him because we knew that how mature people should act. We welcomed him back as if he had been here with us the whole time. Although he hits well in practice sessions, he still doesn't do well in a real game. Come on, Satoshi-kun. 3 strikes already? I'm cheering for you. Then Satoshi-kun pouted as he mumbled. I felt tears pouring down my face. Oh.
サトシくん。サトシくん。
The happy dream faded out with my sobs. The harder I tried to focus on it, the faster it faded. Soon it was all gone. I could see the bright morning sun through a crack in the curtains. I was in Mion's room at the Sonozaki house. When did I come back? I was crouching in the corner of the room and crying. Dream is a dream. I wished I hadn't woken up. But one must wake up from a dream. We live in a world where there are no dreams, and that's why we always wake up. But I wasn't sure if I was the only one dreaming that dream, because I felt like Satoshi-kun was right beside me.
サトシくん？帰ってきてくれたんだ。
There's no reply. That was the rule. If it was Satoshi-kun, I wished I'd smile at me just once. But Satoshi-kun's presence faded away, as if he were never there to begin with. I heard the phone ring by the front door. Ah, that's right. I was the only one in the house now. I had to answer it. I got up to walk to the front door. I felt unsteady, so I put my hand on the wall to support myself. I hardly got any sleep. It was like I had a bad cold. The phone continued to ring. Probably didn't have to answer it, actually. But I was still half asleep, and all I could think of was answering the phone.
はい、園崎です。
朝早くにすみませんな。君吉でございます。おばあちゃんまだお休みですかな？
It was Uncle Kimiyoshi.
はい。昨日のが答えたみたいです。しばらく寝かせておこうと思います。
そうだね。無理に起こしちゃ悪いな。ミオンちゃんもこれから学校だよね。じゃあ枕元に伝言を置いといてもらってもいいかな。
わかりました。何と伝言しましょう。
ね、昨日の件で緊急に役員会を開くことになったんだけど、それをね、今日の夕方の5時から神社の集会所でって伝えてもらえる？
Yep, there's going to be a meeting, then Shion's going to stay back, talk to Kimiyoshi, and then the next day he's gone, and well, guess we're going to see how it happens.
わかりました。伝えておきます。
As soon as I put the phone down, it rang again.
はい、園崎です。
早朝から申し訳ありません。笠井と申しますが、ミオンさんですか？おはようございます。
あ、笠井さんですか？おはようございます。
シオンさんはまだそちらにいらっしゃいますか？
I wasn't panicked, but I hesitated. I could tell him no, or I could play both Mion and Shion.
シオンはさっき顔を洗ってました。呼んできますね。
I decided to play two parts. I went back and forth down the hallway and picked up the phone again.
笠井？おはようです。
おはようございます、シオンさん。今日は登校されますか？
するわけないです。たるいし。
まあそんなとこだとは。それでシオンさん、沖宮へ帰る足はありますか？
This actually kind of makes sense why the school of like Shion never said anything, because she was already skipping quite a bit, so what's an extra couple of days without her?
若いのに迎えに行かせますが。
君吉のおじいちゃんとかそのあたりに送ってもらおうかなと思ってます。私のことは放っておいてくれて OK です。
親父さんから出席日数だけは守らせるように 厳命を受けていますので、私の小指のためにもご協力をいただきたいもんです。
まあ気が向いたら努力します。それより葛西、聞いてる？
聞いてるとは？
昨日のあれ。
一応は恐ろしい話です。
これまでのたたりの犠牲者はさ、みんなダム戦争の時の戦犯だったわけじゃない？それが今年はちょいと路線が違う感じですよね。どう思う？
さあ、私の預かり知るところの話ではありません。
Kasai wasn't the type to talk too much. If it was about something complicated, he usually responded like that.
夕べの犠牲者の2人がどうしてお社様のたたりを受けたか知ってる？
いいえ。
実は夕べちょっと聞いた話だと、なんか綿流しの最中に最後殿にこっそり忍び込んだらしいよ。鍵を針金か何かで開けて。
Kasai went silent for a while. I held my breath while waiting to see how he responded. I expected him to say that he couldn't believe those people were chosen as victims just for sneaking into a storehouse. I expected him to say that it was just too unrealistic.
そうですか。バカなことを。
あまあ富武さんもそのあたりには疎いよそ者だったってことだね。
I went along with Kasai, but I felt disturbed on the inside. Kasai didn't wonder why breaking into the ritual storehouse would justify their deaths. I'd known Kasai for a long time, which is why I knew there was a heavy meaning to what he said.
でさ、葛西、実はさ私もなんだけど。
入ったんですか？
うん。
西宮殿に？シオンさんが？
うん。高野さんに一緒にどうって誘われてさ、高野さんと富武さん、そして私と、ほら前原屋敷に引っ越してきた圭一って男の子と一緒に4人で。
I heard Kasai sigh heavily. Even though he didn't say a word, I could tell he was shocked. I'd never known him to act this way before.
シオンさん、去年ああいう一件があったばっかりなんですよ。今度はどうけじめをつけられるおつもりですか？
去年が爪3枚だったから奮発して5枚くらい言っとく？あ、ごめん。でもふざけてるわけじゃないんだよ。そりゃ私だってヤバいとこだって認識はあったよ、少しは。でもさ、そこまでヤバいことなわけ？
シオンさんは仮にも園崎本家に縁ある方です。今さらそんなこと言ってまかり通ると思いますか？
っていうか、だって私ずっと沖宮。ばあさんに嫌われて以降、ひなみ沢にはほとんど近づいてもいない。その上、学園に閉じ込められて過ごしてたんですよ。そんなの私が知るはずないじゃない。
I heard another sigh from Kasai. That sigh told me my excuses would be useless.
シオンさん、私はあなたの味方のつもりです。極力シオンさんを信じてあげたいと思っています。ですが、いくら私でもかばいきれないことがあります。第一、
ごめん。お姉が来たから切ります。じゃね。
Quick. I interrupted Kasai and hung up. Didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear Kasai reject me, he who had been my ally all my life.
チェ、参ったなあ。
I could hear the sound of the cicadas. The sound made it feel like I was being cooked on a huge frying pan, making a sizzling noise. I couldn't help feeling remorseful. Now I knew that sneaking into the ritual storehouse wasn't a laughing matter, but I really didn't know it at the time. Sure, the door was locked, so that they didn't want anyone to go in. Then why did they change the lock? What did they say? I think it was that Rika-chama said that the previous lock was too heavy for her, so she had it changed to that cheap one. That was how Takano-san broke in. If the heavy lock was still there, this wouldn't have happened. Swept my own forehead. Then I took a deep breath. Maybe the reason why the lock was changed specifically for this year was because, well, Rika saw the future, and that Tomiki and Takano had to die in order, and the only way for them to die is to go into the storehouse. So I think the biggest reason why they take the huge risk of killing off 2 people for going into a storehouse, which is just filled with a bunch of torture devices, like very old torture devices, is the fact there's something else in there. There's something else. Because that damn, like, swamming sound, which I'm still... Why the hell did Shion and Tomiki hear it? But Takano and Keiichi didn't hear it. Maybe Takano heard it because, well, she's not a very trustworthy source. But why the hell didn't Keiichi hear the swamming sound? That's... Why is that? Why is that? I had to calm down. What was the point of fussing now? I'd already passed the point of no return. There was no use thinking otherwise. The hag was already dead. Even if she wasn't, she was now at the bottom of the well. Therefore, it was already past the point where I could cut my fingers off in apology. I felt so unstable. I'd walk on the fence around the swings at the park before as if I was walking on a tightrope. It was fun because even if I fell, it was only a very short distance. But it wouldn't have been fun if I were up really high. That very moment, I was in fact already on a tightrope that was a lot higher than the fence at the park. As soon as I took a step, the rope behind me would vanish. Couldn't step back because there was nothing behind me. Now I wasn't sure at the current situation I found myself in. Just standing in one spot was all I could do. Even if I never took another step, I'd fail if I wasn't careful. If I forced myself to walk, the danger would only increase. But if I didn't move, I would fall eventually. Couldn't see what was ahead of me. There was no guarantee that I ever find firm ground. But if I stopped, there was only one fate waiting for me. I have to move onward. If staying here guaranteed death, then I'd rather try to walk, even if I die as a result. Even if there was a dead end ahead of me, at least I tried my hardest. In general, I tried to be optimistic. I could accept my life not lasting particularly long, but I wouldn't go easily. I struggled as much as possible. I'd already killed the hag. For that, there could be no other punishment than death. I knew my life would end soon. In other words, I was actually already dead.
死人がなおもあがこうとしたら、そりゃ特攻あるのみでしょ。
I clenched my fist tightly as I muttered. Even if I had to die, I couldn't die easily. This was my chance to avenge Satoshi-kun. Who did it, for what purpose, and why? I was going to investigate. I was going to question. I was going to expose. Yes, I was going to settle the score. I carried out the plan I came up with yesterday. I could hide the hag's death somehow. All I have to say is that she hadn't been feeling well since Wanagagashi. I could do it all while pretending to be Mion. Just in case her friends at school became suspicious, maybe I'd start telling them I hadn't been feeling well either. In fact, I did feel groggy from my wackish sleep. When I became Mion, Shion would automatically disappear. I'd already told Kasai that I'd snuck into the shrine storage, so he'd probably end up telling people that I was demoned away due to the curse of Oshiro-sama. The last person I have to think about was the fourth one who snuck into the ritual storehouse, Keiichi Marabara. Maybe I could use him as a bait to lure out the enemy. Sorry, Kei-chan, you're going to be my bait. I felt a little bad since I was starting to like him. With all that figured out, let's go to school. I'd gone to school as Mion before, so I knew how things worked. It was almost time to leave the house.
兄ちゃん、遅い遅い。待っててくれたわけ？先に行っちゃってもよかったのに。
あれ、ミオン。お前、顔が赤くないか？息も妙に荒いし。
みーちゃん、ひょっとして具合悪くない？
Lena put her hand on my forehead.
レナの手、冷たいな。みーちゃん、ちょっとだけど熱あるよ。そんな大したことないよ。半日もすればケロッと治っちゃうって。
本当に大丈夫かよ。あんまり無理するなよ。
あれ、ケイちゃん気遣ってくれるの？嬉しいな。
I'd always thought he was a goofball, so I was a little surprised. I thought they would tease me, but they didn't.
無理しない方がいいと思うな。先生にはお休みだって伝えとくよ。大丈夫大丈夫。風邪薬も飲んだし、すぐに効いてくると思うから。
じゃあ行こうか。くれぐれも無理するなよって言いながら。時間。走
らないと間に合わない。スリリングな朝になっちゃったね。鈍った体にはちょうどいいカツかもね。走ろう。それでは委員長、号令。あ、起立。気をつけ。
God, that makes a lot more sense working hindsight, goddamn. I made the same mistake before. I never learned, do I?
みーちゃん、本当に大丈夫かな？今日は具合悪そう。あら、そうなんですの。それはよくありませんわね。
It was a good idea to make them believe I was sick. Even if I did things different way from me on, I ain't an excuse.
まあ、あれだ。女の子には体調が悪くなる日もあるってことだな。
僕にはそんな日はないのですよ。みぱー。
Mion's friends kept each other occupied and left me alone. Keiichi Murabara. He might suddenly disappear one day. I couldn't let that happen. That would be like letting a fish take the bait and swim away while I was fast asleep with a fishing pole in my hands. I couldn't miss the moment the enemy took a bite out of Keiichi. Had to be very careful. But it was impossible to keep my eyes on him 24 hours a day. That's why she kept calling every night. Oh my god. Yep. Oh my god. Spying him at school like this wasn't good enough. Should I have him meet with Shion and let her explain that he's in danger? Maybe we could set up a strategy together. I didn't think Keiichi realizes how serious a climb it was to step into the ritual storehouse. I hadn't, after all. Since last year, all the incidents that related to the curse had probably been investigated in secret. People involved with the three families would know about the incident from last night, but Keiichi shouldn't know anything. If he knew where he stood now, he'd be more cautious too. It should make him aware of his surroundings. Maybe he would notice if anything odd took place. The teacher caught him sleeping, so she ordered him to go wash his face. He walked out into the hallway. I was sleepy too. I had to be at work, but I couldn't clear my mind due to my lack of sleep. I decided to go home early. Since I've been pretending to be sick since morning, my request was approved. As I exited the building, I saw Keiichi washing his face.
やっぱケイちゃんはこっちの流しを選んだか。表の方が気分いいもんね。
あ、ミオンか。授業サボるなよな。
It looked like he felt refreshing for him to wash his face with cold water. I washed my face too, but it didn't feel as good as it looked.
ミオン、風邪の方はいいのかよ。眠いのは寝不足じゃなくて風邪薬の副作用なんだろ。
ん？あはは、実は内緒なんだけど、昨日はお祭りの後で親族の宴会に巻き込まれちゃってさ。それでエンドレスに。
Gulp. I pretended to drink with invisible glass.
徹夜明けかよ。心配して損した。
Keiichi exaggerated his reaction, but he still seemed worried.
じゃあな、俺は教室に戻るぜ。帰りは気をつけろよ。ふらふらして側溝や用水路に落ちるなよ。
Keiichi turned around to go back to the classroom.
あ、そうそう、ケイちゃん。
I stopped Keiichi. Oh my god, this is why the scene took. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, it clicked. Oh my god, when it fucking clicks. Oh my god, okay. I stopped Keiichi. He, in response, turned around.
なんだ。
変なことを聞くけど、深く考えないで答えてね。
そりゃ内容によりけりだな。
昨日の綿流しの晩さ、富武さんと高野さんに会わなかった？
I noticed Keiichi's body tense up. His reaction proved that he felt guilty about sneaking into the ritual storehouse. He was frightened that me and Sonozaki might know about it. Guess this was enough to give him a certain impression of me and Sonozaki.
富武さんと高野さんはわかるよね。ほら、ケイちゃん、お祭りの前日準備の時、シオンと一緒に4人でお話ししてたでしょ？
I could clearly see how this made Keiichi felt. He was trying to come up with an excuse.
さあ、どうかな。あったような、合わなかったような。
He was both a bad liar and a bad actor. He wasn't really that intelligent at all. No, that would make him a suitable friend for Mion. He was just a brat, unlike Satoshi-kun. Although, when it came to lying acting, Satoshi-kun was at about the same level. Maybe Keiichi should be credited for always trying to tell a lie. Satoshi-kun wouldn't have even said a thing. I didn't need to be thinking about him right now.
そう。じゃあもう一つ質問ね。同じく夕べ、シオンに会わなかった？
This was a very mean question. Keiichi was perplexed as I expected.
それ、昨日も聞いたよな。俺、あったかどうかわからないって答えたと思ったぜ。
Eh? I asked him that yesterday? It must have meant that me and Sonozaki asked him that question. In other words, she asked him that after he left the storehouse and got back together with his friends. Damn you, Mion. When I asked her, she said she had no idea we went into the ritual storehouse. Shit.
そうだっけ？また改めて聞いたら違う答えが返ってくるかなって思ってさ。
どうしてあったかどうかをそんなに気にするんだよ。
He was getting defensive. Keiichi couldn't hide his panic as he flared up at me.
大したことじゃないの。富武さんと高野さんとシオンとケイちゃんをね、悪く言ってる人たちがいるの。何が悪いんだかはよく聞いてないんだけどね。
Keiichi was really perplexed now. This wasn't fun at all, but it could still be an interesting game.
私、ケイちゃんが悪いことをするなんて信じてないから。でも、ちょっとだけ聞いてみたかったから聞いてみたの。不愉快な思いをさせてごめんね。
God damn, oh my god. Damn, This is what an like. You know what? Let's keep going before I start talking about it. I made sure Keiichi felt a sense of crisis, then left. That's so... Nobody can tell us apart. We're Mion and Shion, perfect twins. Oh, that's so cool. Unlike how Ryukyu 07 is able to take the same piece of, pretty much the same scene, right? Pretty much the same scene, but like pretty much turn it on its head, without tricking the viewer. I feel like, you know, like he made. I don't know how to describe this. He made a scene in which you have such vastly different perspectives on that certain scene in different times. Because when we got to that scene in chapter 2, it was like, oh shit, Mion knows we went to the storehouse, you know. But here it's like it's Shion trying to basically get Keiichi into crisis mode to like make him more alert so he doesn't get, you know, demoned away, you know, make him more cautious. And that's so cool. That's so cool as a writing thing of just taking the same scene but just adding so much more to it. Just so much more to it. Like I feel like this game excels at that, of taking these like certain scenes and you see them in such different light at different times throughout the story, which is absolutely crazy to like. It must be very hard to pull off, but when you pull it off, god damn, is it worth it. When I returned to the Sonozaki house, I saw a woman with an apron on. It was a housekeeper. Her name was Shimiyoko-san. They had got a few housekeepers who took care of the chores around the house. Today was her turn to come help out at the house. She arrived, but the gate was locked and she couldn't get in. She called, but there was no answer, so she had just been standing there, not knowing what to do.
バッチャですね。綿流しの祭りで面白くないことがあったみたいで、昨夜からすごく機嫌が悪いんです。
ああ、そうですか。
Shimiko-san tried to remember if she had done something wrong.
別に無視してるんじゃなくて、寝込んでるだけなんです。昨夜だいぶ遅くまでカリカリしてたから、多分まだ起きられないんじゃないでしょうか。知ってるでしょ。一度機嫌を損ねたバッチャがどれだけの期間機嫌が悪いかを。
そうですね。困りましたね。
しばらく顔を見せない方がいいと思います。シミコさんに悪気がなくても、バッチャは何かと咎めてくるに違いありませんから。こういう時は私に任せといてください。
そうですか。それは助かりますけど。
シミコさん、申し訳ないんですけど、他のお手伝いさんにもしばらく来なくていいと伝えてもらっていいですか。バッチャの機嫌が治ったらこっそり電話しますから。しばらくそっとしてあげてください。
Shimiko-san bowed, then left on her bicycle. Anyone who had ever experienced Granny's wrath would understand. I headed into Mion's room, set her alarm clock for 2 p.m. and crawled into her bed. I needed to recover quickly. I had to be sharp, calm, and cool-headed. School should be out by 2 p.m. Maybe I'd get in touch with Keiichi. I'd have to call him. There would also be a staff meeting at the Furude Shrine Assembly Hall in the evening. All the leaders of the three families, the relatives, and the town council members would gather at this meeting. They were all authority figures in Himizawa. I'd be attending in place of the hag who was sick. I worry about the West when I got there. People shouldn't notice that me and the hag were missing for a long time. I didn't need to worry as I had plenty of time. I checked the alarm once more, then fell asleep as if someone switched me off.
もしもし。
あ、園崎の妹の方です。
Here we go.
こんにちは。今はお時間大丈夫ですか？
シオンか。ミオンと同じで今日は寝不足で寝込んでるんじゃないかと思ったぜ。
え？ひょっとしてお姉、早退ですか？お姉らしい。
Keiichi had no idea that the Mion he saw earlier was actually me. He didn't notice when we talked in person, so there's no way he would notice on the phone. I never knew that playing two roles would be so much fun. To feel such enjoyment in this game of life or death. Maybe I was getting used to the situation. Maybe my senses had gone numb.
ごめんな。ちょっと親が電話待ちをしてるんで、そんなに長話はできないんだ。何の用だ？
お話ししたいことがあったんですけど、長電話が無理じゃ仕方ないですね。
じゃあさ、会って話をしないか。ついでに図書館にも案内してもらえるとありがたい。
図書館って駅前の私立図書館ですか？別にいいですよ。バイトのついでってことで。
We decided to meet in Okayama. It wasn't easy to get there from Himizawa, but I had to hurry. I couldn't run into Keiichi as he was heading there himself. I recalled that the key to the hag's motorcycle was in her secret drawer. The hag usually got driven around for public events, but when she had her own errands, she rode her motorcycle. Keiichi, I assumed, was going to ride his bicycle. I tried to get to Okayama before he did. Keiichi arrived quite a bit later than me. Motorcycles are faster after all. There were hardly any traffic lights to worry about on the way here either.
ミオンと違ってシオンは待ち合わせ時間を守るな。しみじみ。
お姉を標準にされるといろいろと困ります。
ん？少しフラフラしてないか？
Man, what is this, like, nice cafe music?
お前も夕べは寝不足だろ？隠しても無駄だぞ。で、学校を早退したに違いない。
残念でした。私はそもそも今日はずる休みしてますので。私、お姉より容量いいですから。
おいおい。学校をずる休みするのを容量いいとは言わないと思うぞ。
じゃあ先に用事を片付けます？時間もそんなにないですから。図書館へ行くんですよね？
ああ、頼むよ。おふくろの借りてる本の返却期限が今日までらしいんで。図書館は遠いのか？
すぐ近くですよ。
I meant it when I said we didn't have much time. I had to hurry a little. I was just going to talk to him on the phone, but I ended up coming all the way to Okayama. After our talk, Keiichi would slowly head back to Himizawa on his bicycle. I'd have to rush back there while making sure I didn't run into him. Otherwise, I couldn't make it on time for the meeting. Maybe I could be a little late, but since I needed to hear everything they were going to discuss, I didn't want to be. This was the Shishiborn Public Library. It was a sizable filled with a collection of moldy, smelly books. But they did have air conditioning, and it was quiet. It was the perfect place for when you wanted to be alone. After Satoshi-kun disappeared last year, I came here a lot to think about various things. This was where I first met Takano-san. Didn't want to run into her with Keiichi in tow. But then I remembered that she was already dead. That's a very, that's funny. Oh yeah, she's dead. The first floor of the building was occupied by government offices. The library itself was on the second floor, so we had to walk up a huge staircase to get there. I tasted cool air on my skin as soon as I walked through the automatic door. Like outside, it was very quiet in here. The room temperature was both comfortable and suitable for books. I could smell the scent of old pages.
どこの図書館も似たようなもんだな。
Keiichi walked up to the return table after he said so. Because it was a weekday, there was hardly anyone around. It really was very quiet. I was going to chat about some ordinary things, and then move on to the main subject. After Keiichi returned the books, I invited him into the inner section of the library. Keiichi knew Mion well, but he didn't know me at all. He showed an interest in our life story. This was exactly where Takano-san told me about the true history of Himizawa a year ago. I was about to tell Keiichi about things that were very similar to that. Did God have a sense of irony?
言われてみれば、例のおもちゃ屋も親類の人が経営してるみたいだったな。そういえば、エンジェルモートも親類の人が経営してるんじゃないのか？
I told him the reason why the Sonozaki family was so powerful in this area. I assumed that since Keiichi came from the city, there was a good chance he couldn't even begin to understand how one old family could literally control an entire area. Unless I explained to him how powerful the Sonozaki family was, he wouldn't understand what kind of danger was barreling toward him.
特に金融不動産関係は強いですね。あと商工会議所の役員も何割かは園崎姓かその親類がついてます。沖宮一帯を評伝に市議会議員と県議会議員にも園崎がいますし。
ちょっと待て。なんだかすごい話になってきたぞ。沖宮の町中に親類が経営する店があって、特に金融不動産に強い。しかもその上、商工会議所の役員の何割かが親類で、しかも地元選出の議員までいて。
Keiichi counted with his fingers. He was clearly surprised to hear all that about the Sonozaki family. It seemed he was flexible enough to accept even something that sounded outrageous to him. He was starting to understand things, although slowly, the way he viewed Shion Sonozaki was changing little by little too. That should be enough background information. Now I could go on to explain about Mion Sonozaki, the successor. Then I changed the subject like Takano-san did with me. I go on to talk about the curse of Oshiro-sama and then the series of mysterious deaths.
ひょっとして園崎家ってこの辺り一帯じゃすごいんじゃ。
ねえ。
And here comes an Oishi.
すごいんです。
A fat man with a cigarette suddenly cut into a conversation. Oishi? Why was he here?
どうも。こんにちは。今日はデートですかな？羨ましいですね。
そうだと思ったら邪魔しないでほしかったですね。大石さん。
What timing. Couldn't be a coincidence. I knew this man too well. He was crafty, sly, and clever. His presence here just can't be a coincidence. Did he see us somewhere in town and follow us? But why? Did he need something from me, Keiichi, or perhaps the both of us? From what I could guess, I didn't think it was me that he wanted something from. It was almost like he was trying to keep Keiichi away from me. Oishi was aware I gave false testimony to protect Satoshi-kun last year. Maybe he didn't think he could talk to Keiichi if I was around. Why did Oishi need to talk to Keiichi? Must be about the incident from yesterday. I'm sure there was plenty of plainclothes officers at the festival, so they had to see who was last with the victims. In other words, Keiichi and me. But Oishi knew I was hard to deal with. That was why he was focusing on Keiichi at present. Why did he have to show up at a time like this?
前原さんでしたよね。あなたもタフな人ですね。園崎姉妹を二股かけるなんて。
いや、そんな二股だなんて。
Keiichi looked at me, hoping for assistance. He blushed. The way he panicked reminded me of Satoshi-kun. That aside, this wasn't going well. Oishi might even start talking about my relationship with Satoshi-kun. I didn't want him to, nor did I want Keiichi to have any preconceptions. Oishi took a quick glance at me. His eyes told me something. He was purposely talking about the things I'd rather not talk about. He was basically telling me to leave or he'd continue on to something that was worse than what they were currently talking about. He didn't use words, but his eyes clearly communicated that anyway. Damn that big fat weasel.
ごめんなさい、ケイちゃん。私もうバイトの時間なんです。
え？あ、そうなのか？
I realized I wouldn't achieve anything like this even if I stayed longer, so I used my part-time job as an excuse to leave. Oishi looked at me and grinned. Damn it. You won today, but I'll win next time.
そういえば、今日はシオン、何か話があるんじゃなかったのか？
And so that's why Shion ditched Keiichi. Alright.
なんなら。
うん、また今度。あ、バイトが終わったら電話します。夜なら電話大丈夫ですよね。
ああ、大丈夫だと思う。
じゃあ今夜電話しますのでその時に。じゃあ。
Not because she hated Oishi, but because Oishi was gonna go into some details. Can't wait to go back to the chapter 2 episodes and see my reactions from then compared to this. Quite literally seeing both sides to this chapter. The hag's motorcycle had become my primary means of transportation. My next stop was a staff meeting at the Furude Shrine's Assembly Hall. It was easy to imagine how a normal meeting would play out if it were just celebrating the end of Higurashi, but today's staff meeting was likely going to be as strained as the Sonozaki family councils. Yes, the staff meeting was going to deal with the heart of Himizawa. I couldn't let my guard down, even for a moment. I waited for a while at the house, then left for the meeting. I walked up the long stairs to the Furude Shrine. At the top, I saw some elderly men smoking in front of the hall. Since they had a minor fire a long time ago, it had been made into a non-smoking area.
あれ、ミヨンちゃんかい。
The head of the Kimiyoshi family, Uncle Kimiyoshi, noticed me and waved. He must not have expected Mion to come alone. Normally it would have been either the hag by herself or Mion tagging along as an assistant.
バッチャは夕べのあれ以来機嫌を相当悪くしちゃいまして。誰も近づけず布団にこもりきりです。
They all understood how troublesome she was when in a bad mood. They smiled bitterly in sympathy.
じゃあ今日はミヨンちゃんが園崎家当主代行ということでいいね。お嬢さんから話とか聞いてる？
一応。
What did he mean? Has Oryu-san told you anything? That line by itself didn't really explain much. The staff meeting was usually led by the mayor, the head of the Kimiyoshi family. And he asked me, as a substitute for the Sonozaki family head, if I heard anything from her. I didn't realize who was supposed to lead today's staff meeting.
おじじゃなくて、君吉さん。今日の会合だけど、司会私じゃないと。
According to the ranking order at the family councils, any substitute for the Sonozaki family head is above the Kimiyoshi family head. In other words, I'd have to lead today's meeting. There was no way I could do that.
大丈夫大丈夫。おじいちゃんがやるから。ミヨンちゃんは座ってればいいよ。お嬢さんから聞いてる話があったら話してくれればいいからね。
村長、そろそろ始めますかいね。全員揃いましたね。
The smokers put out their cigarettes and went back into the hall. The tables were set in a horseshoe shape, and I was told to sit next to the chair reserved for the chief. The seat opposite mine was empty. Considering its location, it was probably for the Furude family head, Rika Furude. But somebody had said earlier that everybody was already here. Either Rika-chama had called in absent or the empty seat was just a formality. Knowing the subject of this meeting, I don't think that the Furude family head would even want to attend. Even if Rika-chama already actually attended, she wouldn't be able to say anything. All she usually do at the Sonozaki family councils was draw pictures on a notepad. She would probably end up drawing pictures in this meeting too. Besides, they probably didn't want her to hear anything unpleasant. In this way, the empty Furude family seat was easily explained. When everyone was seated, the head of the Women's Association served tea. She gave me an evil look, trying to tell me to help out. I got up and did so. After that, everyone fell quiet, and the secretary stood up.
それでは皆さん、本日は大変お忙しい中、緊急にお集まりいただきまして、誠にお疲れ様です。それでははじめに、村長さんからご挨拶をいただきます。村長、どうぞ。
座ったままで失礼します。ケンちゃんも座ったままでいいよ。今日は平日の夕方にお集まりいただきまして誠にありがとうございました。また昨日は綿流しを本当にお疲れ様でございました。おかげさまで本年も事故もなく大変な盛況のうちに終了させることができました。祭りにも村中から大勢がいらっしゃり、本当に素晴らしい祭りになったものと思うとります。来たの何人だっけ？大本営発表だと5000人だそうです。
Jesus. Wow. Everyone laughed except me.
今後もますますの文化の向上のために一丸となって頑張ってまいりたいと思います。よろしくお願いいたします。
Clap, clap, clap. An applause with only 8 people doesn't sound so great.
それでは引き続き議事の方に入ってまいりたいと思います。本日の議事を君吉村長さんにお願いしようと思います。承認していただける方は拍手でご承認願います。
Clap, 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 clap.
ありがとうございます。それではただいま万座でのご承認をいただきましたんで、君吉村長さんに司会を譲りたいと思います。
Man, this is the most intense town meeting I've ever seen.
よろしくお願いします。
What will he say? Well, it seems like the 2 murders has been handled quite efficiently, everyone. Give yourself a clap on the back.
どうもケンちゃんお疲れ様。
Pat on the back.
では司会を引き継ぎましたので、本日の議事に入りたいと思います。申し訳ない。カーテン閉めましょうかね。
Everyone closed the curtains nearest to them. The sun was still up, but with all the curtains closed, the room became very dark. The village chief explained the details of the incident, as well as what went on with the police. A police vehicle discovered Tomoki-san's body on its way back to Okayama last night. Oishi's special curse unit was standing by, expecting something to happen for the 5th time, so they responded quickly. Since Tomoki-san and Takano-san were rarely apart, Oishi got in touch with the neighboring prefectural police departments and asked them to look for her. As a result, they found a burned body of a woman in the mountains of the Gifu prefecture. The body was then identified as Mayo Takano. Considering the circumstances, the police ended up labeling the incident as the 5th of the ongoing series of mysterious deaths. When he finished, there was dead silence. I watched to see who would speak first. Nobody said a thing. Then I noticed Kimiyoshi-san looking at me. This was where the head of the Sonozaki family would speak. He then gave me a wink and a thumbs up.
ミオンちゃん、お嬢さんは何か言ってたかい？
Everyone looked in my direction. I was sure they could see the hag in me.
園崎家当主代行園崎美音です。本日は当主お寮に代わりまして出席させていただきました。よろしくお願いいたします。
I became Mion, tried to become as cold as unfeeling as the Mion I witnessed a year ago. That cold version of Mion was inside of me. That was me. I was her.
不幸にしてお社様のお怒りは5年目にも下されることになりました。大変悲しいことです。
Everyone was held captive by my words. I wasn't a little girl anymore. The hag was speaking through my mouth. They all heard me and trembled in fear.
どうして今年もたたりがあったかわかる方はいますか？
After my question, everyone whispered to each other.
そう。西宮殿の金を犯し、土足で聖域を踏み荒らして汚れを持ち込んだからです。
なんちゅうことだ。
Few elderly men got up and yelled.
あ、ほんたれが。信じられん小僧どもだ。
腹渡引き裂いても飽きたりんガキ友じゃん。
お社様、お怒りをお鎮めください。
なんてこと、なんてこと。お社様、お社様。
これだからよそ者すっか。なんも考えんねえ。ガクガクもないんよ。さらんと。
あれすってれんこってなるね。バチ当たりどもんが。
The angry old men yelled even as they trembled in fear. Their sudden change scared me more than a little. Even Uncle Kimiyoshi, who was usually so gentle and sweet, became like a demon of war, cursing those who broke the rule of the ritual storehouse. It had become like a raging ocean inside the assembly hall. Their yells spun about like a whirlpool. They roared, crashed, and howled. Even while doing nothing but watch, I could feel myself turning pale. Mion threatened me yesterday, and Kasai had been shocked this morning. What I saw before me was similar to that. Even the sweet and gentle Uncle Kimiyoshi was saying they deserved to die. I was fearful of the sudden change in those elderly men. More than anything, the fact that they all believed that those people deserved to die for trespassing is what terrified me. It wasn't just that, of course. The real thing I was scared of was that I was one of the people they wanted dead. In other words, it was almost like they were telling me to die of the curse. If they were to find out I snuck into the ritual storehouse, it was very possible that they would strangle me on the spot. Actually, they might not kill me that easily. By then, I was certain the people in this room were true believers in Oshiro-sama, just like the hag. They wouldn't hesitate to murder whoever made Oshiro-sama angry on his behalf. Even if they didn't carry out the killing themselves, they would pretend they didn't see anything. Yes, not even if my head was cut off right in front of them. Everyone here would act in collusion and say I never intended today. If they all testified that they waited and I didn't show, I'd be demon away. It would be far too easy for them to erase someone and have them disappear. There was no mistake. The people winking the hag and the curse were definitely here at this meeting. I continued speaking. I was Mion Sonozaki. I was on the side responsible for the curse. Therefore, at that moment, I didn't need to worry about anything. Nobody could tell the difference between Mion and me. That's what would keep me safe.
お静かにお願いします。
ほら、静かに静かに。
Uncle Kimiyoshi helped me to quiet everyone, but his tone was violent. He really scared me. Everyone gradually became silent.
西宮殿に忍び込んだ賊は4人。あと2人います。
People once more became restless upon hearing that, but Uncle Kimiyoshi yelled at them again and they settled down.
富武さんと高野さんは分別のつくお年だったはずですからね。お社様のたたりが直ちに下りましたが、もう2人は子供です。 まだたたりは免れていますが、何のけじめもなく許されることはありません。
Everyone stayed quiet that time. They had all turned genuinely pale, trying not to miss a word I said. After all, they were all thinking that the kids I mentioned could be their own relatives, or even grandchildren. They wanted to know who they were, to put their minds at ease.
その二人の狼藉者は、園崎紫音、そして前原圭一。
I could feel the air getting drier. It was so dry, it almost felt like it was going to start making a crackling noise.
園崎紫音は、すでに
I couldn't even hear the old people breathe. I took a peek at Uncle Kimiyoshi, who was sitting next to me. He adored Shion as if she were his own granddaughter, but she had been deemed away. I wanted to see how distressed and sad he'd look. And when I saw his face, I felt a sensation on my back, as if my skin itself was making a crackling noise. He didn't even have an expression on his face. Oh, what the fuck, man. Uncle Kimiyoshi adored me. I loved him, and I thought he loved me too. That was why I expected him to be saddened after learning that I met with such a cruel fate. What was I thinking? The memory of his warm smile shadowed inside of me. There was no way of describing the fear I experienced in that moment. In mere words, he had suddenly changed as someone I didn't even recognize. Uncle Kimiyoshi noticed me looking at him and spoke.
もう一人の前原圭一は
まだです。
I had to take a deep breath to regain my composure.
西宮殿を犯した4人、すべてにお社様はたたりを下されるでしょう。前原圭一も例外ではありませんよ。
Chilling looks, cool looks, emotionless looks, shrewd looks, and the looks of people who were about to snap. I could feel the demons chewing my words while they stared at me with their sharp eyes. I could see some of them sticking their snake-like tongues in and out. I could see flames in some of their eyes. They were memorizing the names of the intruder the curse had yet to fall upon. And so the meeting went on. We were told not to tell the police too much, to report what they asked us, and to hold another meeting whenever something of significance happened. If something unexpected took place, we were to get in touch with either the head of the Kimiyoshi family or the head of the Sonozaki family for instructions on what to do. With those closing remarks, the meeting was over. Wow. Fuck, man. Oh my god. We always saw Kimiyoshi as like the voice of reason, right? Like the kind mayor, the kind who cared for Rika and cared for Shion. But then he believes in Oshiro-sama. He believes in the religion so much that if someone he showed affection to breaks it, they have to die. Doesn't matter. Man. Fuck, man. This village is fucked up. This village is fucked up. I'm just telling you, man. This village, I wouldn't move here if I was given $1 billion. Hell no. It was already getting dark outside. Being in a valley surrounded by mountains, once the sun went down in Himizawa, it got dark quickly. Even if it was hot during the day, it'd be cooled down quickly at night. The elderly people said goodbye to each other and left on their bicycles, on their motorcycles, or in their cars. Uncle Kimiyoshi waved him goodbye and started to head home himself. I called out to him.
君吉さん、この後ご予定はありますか？
I called him Kimiyoshi-san instead of Uncle Kimiyoshi. He stopped.
いや、何もないよ。
家へ寄ってもらえませんか？
お嬢さんが呼んでるのかい？
はい。直接会って話したいことがあるんだとか。
We know Shion's going to murder Kimiyoshi, but the thing is, I get where she's coming from. It's so weird of like this game's also great at like putting you from the perspective of a murderer, you know, and like understanding why they're going to kill somebody. It's like it's fucked up, but at the same time I can see where they're coming from, you know.
じゃあやるかな。
Uncle Kimiyoshi arrived at the Sonozaki house. He often came to the house to have secret meetings with the hag, so he wasn't suspicious at all. I invited Uncle Kimiyoshi into the living room. I served him a cup of tea and told him I was going to fetch the hag. I left the room and killed some time down the hallway.
ばっちゃ、着替えたから来るそうです。ちょっと時間かかるかもです。
いやいや。ゆっくり待ってるから。
Uncle Kimiyoshi relaxed as he sipped his cup of tea. I sat next to him.
多分、シオンの話じゃないかなと思います。
I mentioned my name and watched for his reaction. Uncle Kimiyoshi looked so grim. I couldn't even tell if he heard me. I decided to continue speaking until he reacted in some way.
シオンは去年がありますからね。北条家の人間なんかと懇意になるなんて。
去年は、爪を剥いで許してもらったんだったね。
ええ。3枚剥いで。
Uncle Kimiyoshi folded his arms and thought for a while.
シオンちゃんは今は
地下にいます。
様子はどうなんだい？
Uncle Kimiyoshi sounded worried. When I heard that, I felt relieved that Uncle Kimiyoshi was on my side. His anger in the assembly hall was just an act.
ずっと泣いていますよ。
ミオンちゃん、率直なところ、お嬢さんはシオンちゃんのことをどうするって言ってるんだ？
Alright, so he does care. Also, this game was like, what is real? What's fake? What's an act? What's the actual emotion, you know? Who the fuck's telling the truth? Who's actually, you know? What is the damn truth of this fucking town, and what are these people's actual personalities, damn it?
具体的なことは聞いてません。ご存知と思いますけど、バッチャは怒りが度を超えると逆に無口になりますからね。
西宮殿に入ったんだもんな。しかも自分とこの身内がな。そりゃそうだろうな。
Uncle Kimiyoshi thought that the hag must be unsure of what to do with Shion.
おじいちゃんはシオンの処遇どうなると思います？
そりゃ爪3枚よりもっとむごいことになるだろうな。お嬢さんのことだから身内に甘くするってことはないと思う。むしろ身内だからこそ厳しく当たるだろうからな。
何しろ西宮殿に入ったんですものね。それは許されないことでしょうね。
さすがにな。西宮殿はな。
でもシオンもかわいそうかもしれません。だってずっとひなみ沢から遠ざけられてきたんです。西宮殿の不可侵性は知ってはいたでしょうが、そこまでいけないことだという認識は多分なかったんでしょうから。
確かにシオンちゃんは不憫だよな。
あたしか シオンか。背中の入れ墨を見る以外に私何もない。ミオンとシオンなんて区別自体が何の意味もないのに。
Twins are proof of bad luck. One should be eliminated as soon as they are born. Such is the family precept. The hag actually put her hands around my neck right after I came out of the womb. That's how the story went, at least. In the end, the hag didn't kill me, but instead pretended I didn't exist. She forced herself to call one of us Mion and the other Shion. She adored Mion and hated Shion. My sister and I never understood why we had to go through that. We didn't care who was Mion or Shion. So one day we came up with an idea. We decided to share the joy Mion experienced and the sadness Shion experienced. We often switched places. We were both Mion, and at the same time we were both Shion. Adults around us tried to put different clothes on us or style our hair differently so they could tell us apart. That was nonsense. No matter what they did to us, all we had to do was switch places and nobody could tell us apart. Finally, they decided that we switched places because we were always together. On that day, Shion got to go to an amusement park. Since then, we've been separated.
ミオンちゃん。
私にはシオンがどういう将軍になるか想像もつきません。そしてどんなことに決まっても意見できる立場にありません。バッチャは身内であればむしろ意見を聞かない人ですし。
そうだな。お嬢さんの悪いところだよ。
シオンは園崎シオンでなければとっくに殺されていたことでしょう。死に準ずる罰が果たしてどのようなものか私には想像もつきません。殺されなかったにしたって多分一生日の光を見ることはできないでしょう。つまりは鬼隠しということかと。
ミオンちゃん、シオンちゃんは反省してるんだろ？
ええ。
In response, Uncle Kimiyoshi tapped my shoulder, then slapped his own chest. He smiled reliably.
大丈夫。シオンちゃんがちゃんと反省してるなら鬼隠しなんかなるもんか。君吉のおじいちゃんに任せなさい。
本当に大丈夫なんですか？
そりゃあお嬢さんは私に意見されたら怒りはするだろうけどさ。でもおじいちゃんは引かないよ。シオンちゃんがしっかり反省してるんだから許してあげてほしいってちゃんと頼んでみせるから。
Tears began to fall from my eyes. I knew it. Uncle Kimiyoshi was my ally after all. He said he would forgive Shion. He was my ally. I was so very happy.
本当に大丈夫でしょうか？去年の北条聡君みたいに鬼隠しになっちゃったりしないでしょうか？
Uncle Kimiyoshi smiled reliably again and told me.
罰当たりの北条家の坊主ならいざ知れず、園崎家のシオンちゃんならきっと許してもらえるって。
I was literally about to say, like, okay, so Shion couldn't have possibly killed Kimiyoshi. He cares about Shion, and then he had to say this. He had to say this. Fuck. Huh?
北条家の坊主ってサトシ君のことですか？
God damn it, Kimiyoshi.
去年の犠牲者の。
北条の連中は仕方ないさ。村を丸ごと売ろうとした売国と同然のやつらだ。そういうやつらなら鬼隠しだってありえるだろうけど、そりゃあ北条家だからの話だよ。
Oh, fuck. Huh? Huh? Huh?
北条家の連中は一族老頭みんな呪われて当然だ。鬼隠しに会うのはそういう連中なんだから。だからしおんちゃんは大丈夫。大丈夫なんだよ。
おじいちゃん。でもサトシ君は去年シオンがけじめをつけたから見逃してもらえることになったんじゃないの？
けじめ？何の？
ほら、爪を3枚剥いだじゃないですか。葛西さん、吉郎おじさん、それからサトシ君で3人分3枚。
え？3枚ってそういう意味だったのかい？
Huh? What?
あの3枚はそういう意味じゃなかったんですか？
いや、合ってるよ。関わった人間が3人だから3枚の爪でけじめとしたんだよ。そう私も聞いてるよ。でも葛西さん、吉郎さん、それからしおんちゃんで3枚だと聞いてたよ。
What? 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 Huh? What? I endured excruciating pain. The first one was my left pinky, then the ring finger, and then the middle finger. People held me down so I couldn't move, but I endured. I had to endure 3 nails. I don't know which nail was for Satoshi-kun. If my middle finger was for Satoshi-kun, I'd have to endure until the middle finger was done so that Satoshi-kun would be forgiven. That was why I endured. Even Mion said afterwards, everything was forgiven. Huh? Mion, didn't you say Satoshi-kun was forgiven? Didn't you? That's what I heard. I think that's what I heard. Or did I? Huh? I felt the air move. There shouldn't have been a breeze in that room, but I felt it anyway. The cool air stroked the back of my neck. That was when my true self stood right behind me and nodded. Although there was no wind, my hair billowed. The burning wickedness burrowed deep inside my eyes became visible.
どうして北条サトシ君は鬼隠しにあったのでしょう？
え？
サトシ君のご両親は確かに村を売ろうとしました。お社様のたたりがあったのは当然です。でもサトシ君はその両親の子供であっただけ。そのサトシ君にどんな罪が？
ミオンちゃん？
サトシ君にどんな罪があったのかと尋ねています。あなたはさっき罰当たりな北条家の坊主なら鬼隠しにあっても当然と言いました。鬼隠しにあっても当然などんな罪があったのかと聞いているのです。
Kimiyoshi didn't know what to say to the sudden question. He seemed dismayed.
聞かずともわかります。園崎お涼が決めたのです。お社様のたたりが及ぶのは北条の姓を持つすべての人間と決めたから。
待ってミオンちゃん。別にそういうことが決まってるわけじゃない。
決めたわけではないのですか？
そうだよ。そんなことを決めたことなんかない。北条家にはお社様のたたりがいずれ下る。そういう話をおぼろげにしたことはあっても、そんなにはっきりとしたことを言及したことは一度もないし、誰もしてないよ。
Never decided that.
ではさっきあなたが口にした北条の坊主ならいざ知れずという言葉は何を根拠に出たものなのですか？
ごめんよみおんちゃん。あれは言い過ぎたよ。謝る。
そういうことです。北条家なら何があってもたたり。北条の名を冠していればどうなろうが知ったことではないという、そういう考えが蔓延していることが問題なのです。サトシ君に罪があろうがなかろうが、北条という姓があればそれで汚らわしい、そういう考えが蔓延していることが問題なのです。そしてあなたはその蔓延でいぶされた汚れた思考に汚染された迷信盲信、許せない、お前のような存在が許せない、お前のような奴がサトシ君たち一家を追い詰めてあんなにもすり減らして、サトシ君がかわいそう、本当にかわいそう。彼が何をしたの？何もしてない、何もやってない、ただ北条であっただけ。それにどんな罪が罰がたたりが呪いがどうして降りかからねばならなかったのか。一体サトシ君に何の罪があったというのか。
うわ！Kimiyoshi's upper body bent backwards and fell onto the floor. That was that. I put my stun gun back in my pocket. Oh, shit.
ごめん、シオン。今、なんて言った？
So, we never decided that. We discussed it, but we never decided on it. What the hell?
ゆうべ、高野さんと富武さんが死んだんだそうです。高野さんは焼死体で、富武さんは自殺みたいな感じで。今朝知ったんです。お父さんが親類の人からの電話で話してるのを聞いて。
As I thought, Keiichi didn't know anything about what happened after the festival last night.
マスコミに報道されないのは当然なんです。過去にそうだったから。
Keiichi insisted that unless he heard about it on the news, it couldn't be real. But the investigations into a series of mysterious deaths are done in secret now. Of course, he didn't hear about it on the news.
村長とか、あと園崎家出身の金バッジが警察に思いっきり圧力をかけたんだって聞いてます。
じゃあ、つまり、二人の死は秘密裏に処理されてしまったということか。
そういうことです。もちろん警察は捜査をしてますよ。でも秘匿捜査ということなので、捜査活動にはかなりの制限が加えられているそうです。
I think the reason why Kimiyoshi said, like, well, of course, Satoshi disappeared because he was a Hojo, is because they did discuss about dealing with the Hojos, but they never decided on it. And just out of nowhere, two of the parents died in an accident. So the elders that believe in Oshiro-sama thought it really was the work of Oshiro-sama. And they started spreading the idea that the Hojos were cursed because they were traitors. Because with the death of the Hojo parents, it was an accident. To be honest, now I'm thinking back on it, still could have been done by people. But like, they just fell off a platform. They weren't like beaten to death, nothing like that. They fell off like a observation deck, right? So when that happened, and then the next year the aunt was murdered, the people of him as the at least the elders, that includes Kimiyoshi and Oreo, just simply thought it really was the work of Oshiro-sama, since they very much believe in it, that it's simply the work of it. And the reason why Kimiyoshi said that was, well, I mean, the other Hojos have died or disappeared, so why wouldn't Satoshi disappear as well? Because it's the work of Oshiro-sama. Not the work of us, but the work of Oshiro-sama itself. Interesting. Very interesting. This just keeps going. The longer and longer we're in this rabbit hole, the deeper and deeper it gets.
これは事実上の捜査妨害と言えるでしょうね。
信じられない。人が死んだのにそれが公にされずひそやかに処理されるなんて。
もっと噛み砕いて言うと、綿流しの夜に誰が死んでも公にはならないということです。
そんなバカな話があってたまるか。
ケイちゃん、私以前にお社様のたたりは村人が起こしてるかもしれないって言いましたよね。つまりそういうことなんです。このひなみ沢では毎年綿流しの夜にお社様のたたりということにして誰かを殺してもいい土壌がいつの間にか作り上げられているんです。
Yes, that's the truth about the series of mysterious deaths in Himizawa, also known as Osama-sama's curse. On the day of Wanagagashi, 2 people will be killed. The perpetrators are using the curse of Osho-sama as an excuse to kill one victim and make another disappear. That's why the curse of Osho-sama takes place. That's what happens in Himizawa, and that's what happens with the curse. What Kimiyoshi said is all true. Infecting everyone with the idea that the enemy from the damn conflict deserved to die was the root of all of this. That was a system of vague commands used in the Sonozaki family created by its head, Oryu. One thing that must be mentioned about that command system is that the person giving the orders and the one executing them didn't need to interact in any way. Though Oryu was the commander, she never gave actual orders. She only had to expect something to happen. Every single one of the family council members around her would want to satisfy that expectation if given the chance. They didn't have to be proactive about satisfying it. They could be passive too. But when the chance arose, anyone who knew Oryu's intentions could potentially become the one to execute her orders. Therefore, Oryu would never know who actually executed her order, and none of the relatives knew it either. But they all knew things would conclude just as Oryu wanted, and they could assume it was one of their own who did it for her. This passive support system was fairly effective and spread all over the village. The ties became even tighter after the damn conflict. Anyone could be the one to execute Oryu's orders. Therefore, everyone supported each other. If someone did something, then the others would try to satisfy Oryu's expectation in different ways. For example, they come up with false evidence or otherwise passively interfere with an investigation. Even though they didn't know exactly who they were protecting, they'd still work together to protect whoever it was. Yes, I had finally figured out how it all worked. Phased in a more organized manner would go as follows. The system of killing 2 people who are unwanted by the village each year required 3 elements. The first element was a region of solidarity. It was created during the long and unique history of Himizawa. The villagers' bonds became even tighter during the damn conflict. That was one of the conditions for this place to have a curse. It was an element that was already in the region, not one that could be created. The next element was having the same moral standards. This was a very important element as the curse wouldn't have happened without it. Also, this element was created by Oryu Sonozaki herself, and that was why she could claim that this system was established by her own will. Having the same moral standards means that everyone everywhere acknowledges the same enemy. Even when everyone in the village joined together would be meaningless if they all didn't know exactly who the enemy was. During the damn conflict, Oryu Sonozaki made the identity of the enemy very clear to everyone. They couldn't just say that they were against the damn construction and that the government was their enemy. That wasn't clear enough. The government didn't really pinpoint who the enemy was. But Oryu made enemies out of the construction site itself, and therefore its manager. She chose targets that the villagers could see with their own eyes. They were clear and easy to understand. The villagers acknowledged that everyone at the damn construction site was their enemy, and that the construction site manager was the enemy commander. Using the same method, she labeled one after another as an enemy of the village, practically cataloging a list of enemies printed into the villagers' minds. Earlier, I had used the term infecting for this phenomenon. Those infected by this idea were the people unconsciously giving the orders to commit murder. When the infection spread across the village, when all of Himizawa's residents acknowledged the same enemy, that's when Himizawa itself became a murderer. Or you combine those 2 elements, a solidarity region and having the same moral standards. then selected the enemy and spread that notion throughout the village. The law would normally have punished both the one who committed the crime and the one who gave the order, but Oryu's system didn't require an order at all. Oryu just had to become concerned about the enemy she had pre-selected. But that alone wouldn't cause the curse to take place. Oryu's concern was like a safety device, and even when the safety device was off, the curse wouldn't occur unless there was a finger to pull the trigger. The last necessary element was to set a date for execution. The night of Wanagagashi, the night to venerate Oshiro-sama, the guardian deity of Himizawa. On that night, the curse of Oshiro-sama falls upon two enemies of the village and they disappear. Everyone in the village acknowledged that as fact. In other words, if the same incident took place on any of the other 364 nights of the year, it would be nothing other than a murder case. But if it happened on the night of Wanagagashi, then it would transform into the curse of Oshiro-sama. The idea that villagers are allowed to kill their enemies on the night of Wanagagashi had infected them. The villagers were the cells of this huge creature called Himizawa, and each cell would be taught who the enemy was. The set date was basically a green light for whoever was in the best position to kill the enemy. That was the truth of the curse of Oshiro-sama. Therefore, the one who actually killed Satoshi-kun isn't my enemy. The one who set up this murderous system and the one who named Satoshi-kun's family as the enemy is my enemy. To use a broader definition, Himizawa itself, and the very system of Oshiro-sama's curse, is my enemy. I already killed the hag, the one who designed the system. Kimiyoshi, the one whose job it was to infect the villagers with the system, was already in my hands. I just had to find out who else was involved, and how much. It was like pulling a weed while being very careful not to break its roots. I announced that Keiichi was one of the people who snuck into the shrine storage. I was certain that fact had already spread throughout the underside of the village. In other words, Keiichi was an object of the curse of Oshiro-sama now. Takano-san and Tobiki-san were found dead, having been killed in gruesome ways. That was the curse of Oshiro-sama. In that case, they could demon away 2 more people as sacrifices to calm the anger of Oshiro-sama. The set date for the curse was already over. But just like what happened to Satoshi-kun, demoning away was allowed a little extra time. Something would happen to Keiichi within a few days. I wait patiently, careful not to let my enemy simply take Keiichi my bait. Keiichi had been yelling on the other end of the phone for some time. He kept yelling that he didn't want to go into the ritual storehouse to begin with. He claimed that he was simply invited by Takano-san and me. He shouldn't be in danger because of that, he said. He's feeling a sense of crisis and tension. This was going to work. The livelier the bait, the easier it is to spot.
どうしてくれるんだよ。俺は全然関係ないんだぞ。どうすんだよ。どうすんだよ。どうやって責任を取ってくれるんだよ。おい、聞いて。
Shut up. I've heard enough of your pitiful tears. I hung up the phone. There was no point in talking to him when he got like that. Besides, I already achieved my goal, which was to make him realize the danger awaiting him. I took a deep breath, then called the house of the village chief.
Hey, Kimiyoshi です。
Sonozaki です。どうです？村長さんは見つかりましたか？あ
あ、ミオンちゃんか。片っ端から電話をかけてみたけど、ダメだよ。見つからないんだ。参ったな。どこで油売ってるのかな。
こっちでも心当たりにいろいろと問い合わせましたけど、全然。
That's the theory that Oryu pretty much set up this kind of, I don't know what to call this system. A system in which you can't find out who did it. It's the most like, I don't know, I don't know what to call the system, but like it's so like, it makes so much sense. of like they set up the system so like even if there was a mention of Oryu concerned about a certain somebody, the culprit would never be caught because the village wanted to protect whoever did do it. It's the perfect system. It's quite literally the perfect murder, you know, of just Oryu casually saying like, oh, I'm concerned about this boy or this family or whatever. Then somewhere in the village commits that murder in the night, and the village covers it up because they were an enemy. They all have the same moral, the same viewpoint of like, this is the enemy, they're dead, alright. Who did it? Who cares? Cover it up. It's quite literally the perfect murder. But there, I want to believe that, but it's the fact that Kimiyoshi said we discussed it, but we never decided on it. Now you could still say, well, the system simply took place once again. Sure, they talked about it, and maybe someone misread the message and, you know, decided to kill off the Hojos and make a giant target on their back just to please Oryu. But it's the fact that they discussed it, but they never decided on it. They never decided that the Hojos were really like a real enemy. Like, an enemy they definitely had was the damn foreman, for example. But it's the fact that he said, we didn't decide on it. We discussed it, but we never decided on it. If everyone in the village has to be on the same, like same page. So the fact that Kimiyoshi is saying that we never decided on it, we never, you know, finalized it pretty much. That's the one thing that's bothering me with that theory. That's the one thing. I know the answer could be, it's really right in my face, the answer of like, this is what Oshiro-sama's curse is. But it's just, there's more to this. It can't be this easy, you know? Or maybe it could. It very much could be this easy, but like, there's just something about it that rubs me the wrong way, that there's more to this. And yes, it does include the fact of the fucking director, whoever the fuck he is, that's been brought up once in the entire story.
バッチャにも相談したんですが、青年団を招集して探し回った方がいいだろうということです。
こんな時間にかい？それに別に行方不明になったと決まったわけでもないし。
綿流しの直後ですから、少し慎重に扱った方がいいとのことです。それでも見つからないなら、明朝を警察に通報しましょう。見つかる見つからないは別にして、痛くない腹を探られない方がいいでしょうから。
お嬢さんがそう言ったのかい？
はい。直接声を聞かないと信用できないなら、電話先に出させますよ。
いえ、わかりました。青年団を集めて探しましょう。それで見つからなければ、翌朝に警察に通報します。
青年団の連絡もよろしくお願いしますね。私もバッチャの代行ということでそちらに参ります。
ありがとう。すぐにみんなを集めます。
ええ。では。
The youth group had gathered at the Furude Shrine. They were going to try to find the mayor. I also had to go in the absence of the hag. Just to be mean, I stopped by the underground torture room to let the mayor know that I was headed to the Furude Shrine to search for him. Incidentally, according to a tab on the keychain, this underground torture room was actually called the underground storehouse for ritual implements. That was the man who was yelling that whoever trespasses on the ritual storehouse should be killed. Although it was an underground ritual storehouse, he was there now, atoning for what he had done. It was pretty ironic. Maybe I was the only one who felt that way, though.
Kimiyoshi のおじいちゃん、お具合はいかがですか?
Clink. Kimiyoshi didn't say a word, but he made a noise with the chain.
今ね、村中でおじいちゃんの姿が見えなくなったって大騒ぎしてますよ。おじいちゃんの家から相談が来たので、青年団を招集して捜索を行うことにしました。
And another thing for the whole theory coming from Shion is not in the exactly most unbiased of perspectives. That with the fact she's she has some problems. She has mental problems, you know. So, you know, just saying, she's not coming from a very like neutral ground, you know, point.
これから行ってくるところです。
Does this mean or what? Kimiyoshi could only make a noise with the chain. Couldn't even express any emotion other than anguish.
鎖、少し長くしてあげましょうか。私の質問にちゃんと答えてくれるたびに、そうですね。鎖の輪っか1個分長くしてあげます。あと3個も長くなれば、だいぶ楽になると思うんですけどね。
Chain. Kimiyoshi's hands were tied behind his back with a tight wire. He was wearing a leather collar with a chain, which was strapped tightly around his neck too. The collar's chain was on a pulley attached to the ceiling, with the chain pulling him up towards it. That chain was very short and pulled very tight. Kimiyoshi had to stand on tippy toes to be able to breathe. He had been like that for almost an hour already. He was already exhausted. If I left him overnight, he'd probably end up hanging himself.
さっきは知らないと言われましたけど、もう一回尋ねます。北条聡君について知っていることを教えてください。ああ、ごめんなさい。喋りたくても喋れません？じゃあ、私とおしゃべりの間だけちょっと緩めましょう。
I turned the pulley from just a little to loosen the chain that was pulling on Kimiyoshi's neck. Kimiyoshi's heels finally touched the ground, relieving the pressure on his muscles.
知らないんだよ、シオンちゃん。本当に知らないんだ。
サトシ君が生きてるのか死んでるのか、それすらも。
おじいちゃんは本当に何も知らないんだよ。
ま、ひなみ沢のたたりのシステムはそういう部分で機密性を保持していますからね。おじいちゃんが知らないというのもありえなくはないことです。なら聞き方を変えます。サトシ君がどうなってるのか、君吉家当主の立場でご意見を伺いたいです。サトシ君は生きてる？死んでる？
Kimiyoshi didn't know what to say. If he said he didn't know, I tightened the chain and leave the room. That would be like a death sentence for him. But all I said was that I wanted him to speak as the head of the Kimiyoshi family. I didn't ask him to tell the truth. But he didn't know what to say to avoid souring my mood and to get to me loosen the chains around him. He was obviously trying to figure out how to make me extend the chain.
生きてるんじゃないかって噂を聞いたことがある。
ああ、新幹線で東京にってやつですね。
警察が東京で姿を見たというようなのを聞いた覚えが。
Oishi had told me is that Satoshi-kun had been witnessed getting on a bullet train heading to Tokyo at Nagoya Station. But the police didn't know if that really happened or what became of Satoshi-kun after that. Therefore, this was simply a random assertion of Kimiyoshi's.
ねえ、君吉家の当主様、呪われた一族、北条家の人間を わざわざ失踪なんていう凝った消し方をしていて、わざわざ生かしておくのにどんな理由があるんです？ないんじゃないですか？それに、その東京で警察が見たという情報ソースを教えてください。私は大石と一時期連絡を密にしていましたが、そんなのは聞いたことないです。おじいちゃん、私の機嫌を取ろうとしていい加減なことを言ったなら、かえって怒っちゃいますよ。
It reaches for the pulley, controlling the chains around Kimiyoshi. That act alone sent him panicking as he felt them tightening once more.
ごめんよ。別にシオンちゃんを怒らせようなんてつもりはないんだよ。謝るよ。
私、ご機嫌取りの話なら聞きたくないんで。君吉のおじいちゃんにサトシ君のことを調べる協力をお願いしてるだけなんです。
わかってる。ちゃんと真面目に考えるから。
I took my hand off the pulley. Seeing that, Kimiyoshi began making loud groaning noises to try and show he was thinking hard.
ズバリ、生きていると思いますか？死んでいると思いますか？
生きてると考えるのは難しいんじゃないかと思う。
ですよね。生かしておくことで伴う膨大なリスクを負う意味ないですもんね。私だって同感ですし。
I really didn't mean anything too deep by it, but what I said truly scared Kimiyoshi.
警察は、おば殺しの犯人がサトシ君で、サトコの誕生日プレゼントを買うために貯めてた貯金で逃亡したと、そう考えてました。この辺、どう思います？
でも、その犯人は確か麻薬中毒の危ないやつだと聞いたよ。
あれ、どう思います？
Now I'm thinking back to Chapter 3. With this whole system Shion has come up with, it would make sense of how everyone covered for Keiichi for murdering the uncle of Sadako. Make covers an alibi at the Himizawa Wanagagashi. And maybe someone got rid of the body as well. But what about Sadako herself? She said her uncle was still at home. Why would she say that? If everyone was covering for Keiichi. Plus, with the murder of... With Satoshi murdering his own aunt, why would they go to the trouble of making him disappear if they were going to cover for him? Maybe because he was a Hojo. But I feel like maybe they kind of did cover for Satoshi with the drug addict. So, like, wouldn't it be more beneficial for the village to cover Satoshi's murder of his aunt? Drop in the drug addict? Make him the suspect? Why go to all the trouble of making him demon away? Maybe to fit in with the whole two people must die in a night? But the unique thing about that year is that it happened a couple days after, right? But the demoning away and the murder happened both on the same night. So I think Satoshi... I think the village did cover for Satoshi. And the reason why he disappeared wasn't because of the village. because, first of all, they never cursed his name, if we're to believe Kimiyoshi, cursed the Hojo name. 2, it would be a lot more work to make someone, to make him disappear if they were already covering for him, right? So, yeah, plus the fact it happened days later, even though we know for a fact that both the murder and the demon away happened both on the same night. I don't think the village is behind the disappearance of Satoshi. Because I feel like that would fuck up their own system. You know? I feel like that'd be too much trouble, even though he was a Hojo. So that leaves only 2 possibilities. Satoshi did run away. Or the third faction, aka their director, took him away. I'm gonna believe that. That sounds... I feel like it's way too much trouble to make him disappear if you're already covering for him for his murder.
私は私がこう言うのも変だけど、サトシ君がおば殺しの犯人だって信じてるんですよ。あいつは例えばばあさんあたりに買収されて仕立て上げられた身代わりじゃないかと思うんですけど。
それはおじいちゃんも思ってたよ。突然ひょっこりと真犯人でしたなんて言われて腑に落ちなかった。
やっぱり身代わり？
多分そうじゃないかと思うよ。
何のためにだと思います？
警察はサトシ君が犯人だと思って捜査を進めてたんだよね。サトシ君を鬼隠しということで失踪させておきたいと思うなら、警察の捜査がいつまでも続くのは面白くなかったんじゃないかな。
Maybe. What Kimiyoshi just said is very interesting. He's perfectly correct. If the police continue their investigation, it would complicate things for whoever deemed away Satoshi-kun. Therefore, the hag came up with a decoy in order to bring an end to the investigation.
でも、そんな犯人のでっち上げなんてそうそう簡単にできることじゃないですよ。
お嬢さん以外にはできないよ。そんなことは。
ばあさんが裏の世界で相当の力を持ってるというのは私も知ってはいますけど、そんなにもあったんですね。
シオンちゃんだっていろいろとダム戦争の頃から噂は聞いてるだろうし、中には実際に直接聞いたものもあるんじゃないかい？
During the dam protests, I actually saw them issuing orders to my relatives. Like, destroy the heavy machinery, or can we set up a checkpoint to blockade their construction vehicles? They said freed their comrades from the police by coming up with alibis, destroying or forging evidence. I had seen relatives do those things, as well as the hag calling in counselors to house to protest. As a child, I was pretty impressed, but when I thought back, it was more than that. She was truly the mastermind who controlled the underside of the world.
シオンちゃんだって建設省の幹部の息子というか建設大臣の孫だな。あれの誘拐事件の話は知ってるだろう。
Yep.
あれってやっぱ誘拐だったんですか？孫が鬼隠しになって高津戸だか矢河内だかの山奥で見つかったって話は知ってたんですけどね。
あれはお嬢さんの指図によるものだよ。ダム工事の中止の約束が取り付けられたんで孫を釈放したっていうのはおじいちゃんたち旧同盟の幹部ならみんな知ってる。
ふん。身近にいすぎて私がよく分かってなかっただけで、やっぱりばあさんとか御三家とか 旧同盟って大したもんだったんですね。怖い怖い。
Kimiyoshi finally realized the situation he was in and was answering my questions. That made me happy, but the more Kimiyoshi told me the truth, the more I realized Satoshi-kun really was dead. That made me very sad.
サトシ君を鬼隠しにした実行犯は誰だと思います？
わからないよ。それに誰が実際にやったかは問わないのが不分律だったから。
He was right. That was how the system worked. And so that was a bad question.
誰がやったにせよ大したものですよね。だって人を殺して死体も出てこないなんて結構簡単なことじゃないんじゃないですか？
誰が殺したかは別にして、例えば死体の処理をお嬢さんが手伝ったという可能性は考えられるよ。今いるここの奥に死体を捨てるための井戸があることは知ってるだろう。
ああ、確かに。どこかの山中に埋めるくらいならここの井戸に捨てる方が絶対に安全ですもんね。
Whoever disappears becomes a sacrifice to calm the anger of Oshiro-sama. That was the rule of this game. Therefore, the bodies must never be discovered. That's why the bodies had to be dumped somewhere nobody could find them. It's very possible that the well was used for that. Then, Satoshi-kun is at the bottom of that well. I grabbed a flashlight and headed to the huge cave with all the cells. As I turned on the lights in the cave, Mion noticed me and gave me a worried look. I ignored her and headed to the cell in the back. I was still very impressed by how the well was hidden. It was almost artistic. I shone the flashlight at the bottom of the well. I had no way of knowing how deep this well was. The light of the flashlight wasn't strong enough to reach the bottom. I inhaled, then screamed into the well.
Satoshi-kun!
Satoshi-kun's name echoed again and again. It was obviously a very deep well. I thought of climbing down using the wedges on the wall, but with the flashlight hanging from my neck, I couldn't wipe my footing properly. And even if there was enough lighting, I didn't even know if the wedges were sturdy enough. It would be like committing suicide. Satoshi-kun was at the bottom of this well. That's when I felt it. A warm hand loved my head for sure. Shion, you finally found me. Satoshi-kun, 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 I have been looking for you for so long. I'm sorry I couldn't find you while you were still alive. I'm sorry. It's not your fault, Shion. There's nothing you could have done before I was killed. But you did everything you could do after I was dead. Satoshi-kun, I want to join you. I'm coming right now. I'm going to jump, so please catch me. Satoshi-kun smiled bitterly. I was saddened to see him reject me. Shion, I'm happy that you found me. But you're alive, Shion. It's so important to be alive, you can't waste it. If you aren't here, I don't want to live. I want to be with you, Satoshi-kun. I want to be close to you. I want you to rub my head again. I want to spend time with you. I'll be a good girl. I want to be with you. Live. Do I have to? Live, enjoy your life, okay? What's so fun about living alone? You'll find out, so long as you're alive.
生きるよ。生きる。
The eerie well now felt warm. I wasn't allowed to go down to the bottom, but the edge of this well was the place where you and I could meet.
ミオン、サトシ君、見つけた。井戸の底なんだね。そうだと思う。そこしかないもん。
Mion started to sob.
ミオンはサトシ君が殺されるところには居合わせなかったんだよね。うん。もし居合わせたらサトシ君を許してもらえるようばあさんに意見してくれたかな。
絶対にする。せめて命だけはって絶対に言うよ。
嘘だ。
え？
嘘だー!
On that day a year ago, I had just recalled how cool Mian was then when she forced me to whip out my nails, acting in her role as a successor. Even if she was there if Satoshi-kun was killed, she wouldn't have stopped being the successor. Satoshi-kun was brought to the torture room. When he saw Mian, I'm sure he thought she would save him. Even as he heard the family head read out his death sentence, I'm sure he looked at Mian and believed that she would save him. He believed Mian was acting that way only because she was with her relatives. He believed she would help him, but she didn't do anything. He was strapped to a restraining device, yet she still wouldn't do anything. Mian was cool. Mian? Isn't it about time to help me? I see, I get it. You're with the rest of the family members, so you can't even show a hint of compassion. That sucks.
はサトシ君が意地悪オーバーのせいで追い詰められていた時から何も救いを差し伸べなかった。あんたは同情する素振りを見せるだけで助けなかった。見殺した。あんたがサトシ君を助けなかったから追い詰められたんだ。私は救おうと頑張ったよ。彼の心の支えになろうと頑張った。あんたらがサトシ君のおば殺しをかばわなくても私は彼のアリバイのために自らを投げ打って戦った。その結果が爪3枚なんて安いもんでしょ。でもね、それだけの努力じゃサトシ君を救うには全然足りなかった。届かなかった。どうしてか。だって私はシオンだったんだもん。シオンはひなみ沢から遠ざけられていて、何からも戸ざまで何も教えられなくて知れなくて。でもあんたは違う。あんたはミオンだった。あんたはひなみ沢のうちにいて、全ての中心で全てを教えられて全てを知ることができた。私があんただったらきっとサトシ君を救えた。私なら救ってあげられた。あんたがミオンになったからだ。返してミオン。もともとミオンはあんただけのもんじゃない。私のものでもあったはず。それにもともとミオンは私のじゃない。私があんたに貸してあげるようになっただけで本当は私のだったじゃない。返せ。私のミオンを返せ。お前がミオンの外見をしているだけでも物質が走る。お前じゃなく私がミオンだったら
I kicked the bars. I kicked them again and again. Mian curled up fearfully in the back of the cell, as if she were trying to prevent the bars from crashing down onto her. Well, shit. What? Oh my god, one page. Shion is a perfectly healthy and normal teenage girl. Fuck. Everything's pointing to the Sonozakis killed off Satoshi and dumped into the well. But I need confirmation. I need that fucking confirmation from Oryu, but she's fucking dead. Mian says she thinks. She thinks. God damn it. God damn it. Oh, we're fucking... The way you get answers in this game is that, like, you're so goddamn fucking close to it. You're so tantalizingly close to those answers. And it seems like you get those answers, but there's just always something off about them. There's always something off about them. There's just these couple of little tiny things that need to be confirmed. That just, like, everything is pointing to the Sonozakis killed off Satoshi because he was a Hoijo. But there's just these little tiny things that, like, that just bother me. The fact that Kimiyoshi says we never decided on cursing the fucking Hoijos. And the fact of why murder Satoshi? Why fucking kill him off? Because he was associated with Shion? Why? Why the fuck would you do that? And it very much could be like they set up, like, the decoy could go one of two ways. One, they were trying to, let the police, deal with that, be like, okay, case closed, then kill off Satoshi. Or it could be the fact of covering for Satoshi, just covering for Satoshi, so nobody gets fucked over. And then just a couple of days later, he just disappears. This system is set up in such a fucking way in which not even the, like, culprits themselves, besides Oryu, know if, like, who dies or not. Like, they think Satoshi was murdered by Oryu. They think that. They don't know it for sure. And unless I get that confirmation, I can't believe in the Sonozaki family killing off Satoshi. I don't think God, this fucking game. Ugh. Every single question has two sides to it, and it seems like every so-called answer has, like, two sides to it. There's always two sides to it. It's going to drive you nuts. It's driving me nuts in a good way, but God, man. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this type of content. If you did, hit that subscribe button. If you liked it, hit the like button. Want to tell me something, put it down in the comments below. Want to check out the Discord server I hang out in, my Twitter, check description below. And yeah, this has been Voidlego. I'll see you guys next time. See ya!